Day present The Saviors Tour. Live in Washington, D.C.
Welcome to
Nationals Park, July 29th. Celebrating 30 years of Dookie and 20 years of American Idiot. Green Day with the Smashing Pumpkins, Rancid and the Linda Lindas. Get tickets now at livenation.com. Green Day, The Saviors Tour, fueled by Monster Energy.
Welcome to the Awakening Women podcast. I'm your host, Leanne Oaten, and former therapist with a background in counseling psychology. This podcast is for strong, high-achieving women who want more in their lives and relationships, who are ready to rise to the next level of growth, healing, and evolution. Nothing changes until you change. And when you change, everything else changes around you as a result. If you're done with feeling powerless within the chaotic and toxic dynamics in your relationship and don't even know where to begin with making changes, I've got you covered. I know you've tried everything, including counseling, watching hours of videos, and reading stacks of books on narcissism, and find that all it does is leave you feeling even more stuck and in the same place. None of these things work when you're living with a narcissistic spouse because the root causes of the symptoms are not being addressed. As with physical health, there is an emotional, physical, spiritual, and psychological component to healing and overcoming the problematic symptoms and pain you're facing every day in your life and relationship. If you're ready for a direct, no fluff, no nonsense approach to take you into your personal power and take back your life, you are in the right place. Let's get started with today's episode. Someone commented on one of my posts on social media about the continual pattern of attracting emotionally unavailable partners. And I wanted to share my thoughts on this. So wherever you're at, whether you think it's emotional unavailability, if it's actually abusiveness or narcissism or avoidant attachment or whatever, all these other things, I really believe that at the root of all of this, the core issue, the root cause issue, is our lack of emotional attunement and connection and awareness to ourselves. So through my own work, this is something that I can stand in because I can see it as it has played out in my own life. So my level of emotional connection to my experience means that I won't now, at this point in my journey, I will not be able to feel fulfilled in a relationship where there isn't at least some capacity for emotional connection, some capacity for vulnerability, some capacity for empathy, and the ability to connect and talk about deep things and vulnerable things and real life and uncomfortable things. For me, I need to see that. And that's also in my friendships, right? I don't do that great with superficial stuff. When it comes to relationships, someone that you choose to share your life with, if you're noticing that you keep ending up with the same types that are emotionally unavailable, they divert the topic when you're trying to talk about something difficult, they stonewall, they avoid tough conversations or don't have a lot to add, or they don't follow up with their word, right? They say they're going to work on something and the thing still keeps happening, or they're not actually taking any ownership or initiative to work on their end. So when you've done enough work to be able to see the things that you do not want in a relationship, because you have embodied those within yourself, that is, if I notice I have a problem or a pattern or something that keeps coming up, I need to take full ownership for why that is, and to not blame the outside, the external, like, why is this particular person pattern experience showing up in my life? What can I take away from this and learn from this? And so if I'm in a relationship or a friendship with someone that is not able to do that, I'm not going to feel very fulfilled in that particular relationship. Just like when I work with clients, that's why I do an initial consult, because I want to make sure that potential clients aren't in a place where they think I am there to fix everything and to do the work for them. They need to take ownership and be ready to look at their own shortcomings and patterns and conditioning and all of that to see why they end up in these particular patterns. So back to the original topic of why do I keep attracting the same narcissistic, unavailable, abusive, avoidant men? That goes back to we need to do the work within ourselves. So we need to be emotionally attuned to our experience. We need to have the self-awareness to know what's going on within us. And if we don't, then we go work with someone that can help us with that. We look at our own stuff first. When we are pointing the finger at someone else, we have 3 fingers pointing back at ourselves. You've probably heard that quote. And so when I'm thinking about something in someone that I don't like, or that I'm triggered by, or bothered by, or annoyed by, or offended by, or whatever, hurt by, I always ask myself, so do I do this? It's kind of almost like an automatic thing that I do, because I want to be in integrity. So if I'm telling someone I don't like it when you do this particular thing or this or that, I want to be able to notice, it's like, I notice I do this within myself as well, and I'm going to work on that as well, right? It's not the need for other people to be a certain way without looking at ourselves as well. So when you're doing this kind of work, you naturally will start to attract people that are on a similar level. So that includes partners, even partners that are willing and they want to learn. They want to grow, they want to do differently, they want to experience something differently. So they're willing to go there with you, as opposed to defend and fight against and avoid and withdraw. Like, when you are fully connected with yourself and you know what it is you need, you will not be able to tolerate that. This won't be a conversation anymore about how can I get him to want to. No, it's I will put in my effort, you put in your effort, and we'll meet in the middle. There's no more over-functioning, over-giving, the hero role, right? The helping, enabling, rescuing, and over-functioning. I've talked about that here. And we are no longer in those roles. So we notice when we maybe tend to want to go there, but we have boundaries within ourselves, internal boundaries that we also will draw outwardly if necessary. But we first have to have those within. We first have to know what it is we need. We first have to find what it is that we're seeking in a partner or anyone else. Find that within ourselves first. And that's the work. That is the work to do to begin to have a different experience externally. You've heard this saying, as within, so without, as above, so below. It's whatever is going on within ourselves is going to be mirrored in our outside world, in our relationships, in our patterns. So instead of blaming it, like I keep ending up in these same patterns, or if it's even in the same relationship, you keep going back to the same relationship. There's lessons in there for you to learn. There's things you need to learn about yourself. All right, so I hope that gives you a little insight into patterns. If you're feeling fed up with your tendency to keep going back into the same patterns in your relationship now, or you keep ending up with similar types of men with similar behaviors that treat you in similar ways, and they're not willing to look at themselves or work on it or get themselves into coaching or therapy on their own volition, on their own accord, because they want to address the issues. You know, if you're dealing with that, then that's a good indication that you're not valuing yourself and you are abandoning yourself to try and fix someone else's issues, someone else's problems. And that this is a dance, right? Because in relationships, we want to be there for each other. We want to support each other, but we need to know where that line is between supporting and over-functioning or over-helping. For some of us, this is a lifelong process of learning and unlearning and reassessing where we stand and where we are showing up and how we're showing up in our relationships. So that's what I have for you in this episode. I hope this has been helpful, and I will chat with you again soon. Take care. Thanks so much for tuning in to this edition of the Awakening Women podcast. If you love this episode, please take a moment to share it and leave a 5-star rating and review. If you're ready to take your next step, head to the link in the show notes to sign up for my latest free class. Also, be sure to follow me over on Instagram at Awakening Women Official and join the conversation. Thanks so much for tuning in, and I'll catch you again in the next episode. Take care of yourself in the meantime, and I'll see you online.
Hello, saver. Whether you're saving for that trip to the tropics or saving for an emergency, now is the time to take advantage of Wells Fargo's savings options. Wells Fargo offers savings accounts that can help you save towards your goals. So, what are you saving for? Visit a Wells Fargo branch or wellsfargo.com/save to open a savings account today.
Wells Fargo Bank, N.A., member FDIC.